Hi everyone. So first off, I just want to thank you to any new subscribers that I have. Thank you so much for all of you that support this channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you all are doing okay. So today's video is going to be something I've wanted to do for like a little bit, but I'm finally getting around to it. So sorry about the regular kind of posting schedule. I feel like I haven't filmed a video in a long time. My life's just kind of been up in the air a little, and I just kind of been in the middle of making some big life decisions. So I just feel like I've been in a scramble lately, so that's why I have not maybe posted recently or like filmed a video recently. So today I'm going to do a video talking about the enemy. And this is kind of going to be a continuation of like my last video that I posted. But I wanted to talk about a really life-shifting thing for me at the time that really just changed the way that I don't know, I guess kept going and like moved forward from different things in my life. So I assume because you guys watch my videos that, you guys have been through things or you're going through things current. And we can go through things that feel very heavy sometimes. Sometimes it can feel like, attacks, like personally. Or sometimes it can feel like people are just trying to bring a lot of pain into your life, bring a lot of hurt into your life. Sometimes we go through things where people have caused a lot of pain, or we've gone through things in our life that maybe people haven't done, but just have led to a lot of pain in our life. So we can get to that point where it feels hard to like move forward. And we can feel like we're trying so hard and it feels like we're never gonna like move forward from certain things. So why I mention all of this is because for a long time, when we're going through certain things, if you can relate to this, like I said, it can feel like we're never gonna essentially get out of it, move forward. Sometimes, even in my life, I've wondered, why are certain things happening? Why do I feel like I'm scrambling just to get back on my feet? For quite a while, you can feel really upset about the situations that you've been through. And you can also feel upset when people hurt you, when people bring a lot of pain into your life. And for me, a lot of times that pain has felt consuming. And it has felt like, because I've been through certain things, I'm never going to get past certain things. And that felt like the truth, and that felt like the reality for so long. If you can also relate, you can hit points where like you just want to give up in your life, and like maybe for you, it's like you just want to sleep your life away. Maybe it feels like, where you are now in your life is all your life will ever be. Maybe you just feel so completely exhausted. So I remember feeling all those things. And I remember something really shifted at some point in my life. Because for me, for a long time, it felt like I had been through all these things. I was carrying all this pain. And it felt like, that pain just felt unbearable at times. And it felt like my mind was trying to get me just to completely give up. Again, whether that be, sleep my life away, lay down in defeat, etc. And there are times where, I felt so upset, I felt so upset at like the pain people have caused. And I really started taking those experiences and really kind of started forming beliefs that I questioned about myself. So essentially I was in that place where, I was very exhausted. I was tired of fighting. And there's all this pain that you're feeling. And I don't know about you, but if you have those moments where you're wondering, like, why do I keep going? If you're trying to make things better in your life, you're trying to get up from being knocked down repeatedly. And sometimes you just wonder when it feels like nothing is working. And when it feels like there's some invisible force trying to keep you down. And sometimes that force can feel like our own mind. Not only the fears that we have developed through different experiences, but also the anxiety and just the sadness and sorrow that we carry. So sometimes, and I was having this day the other day, sometimes you can have days where, you literally feel like you've been trying so hard and feel like you try to keep getting up and keep going. And sometimes you just wonder, why do I keep going? Why do I try to make things better for myself? When it feels like there's always kind of something coming back in. And I mean, it can even just be like memories or emotions, or sometimes it can be more things kind of coming into your life to knock you back down. Anytime you feel like you take a step and gain some momentum. So I was just thinking about this the other day, and there's a moment that was a really big shift for me. And I just remember I was going through things at the time. And this was about 2 years ago, approximately, maybe 3. I kind of lose track of time because there just was so much going on. But, there was a lot going on. I was in a lot of pain, a lot of fears coming up. And it feels like things aren't working out. And I just wondered, why do I try to keep going? Why do I try to make things better for myself? When it just feels so difficult, it feels so hard, right? It can feel monumental. It can feel like such an uphill battle. The moment that things had started shifting in one capacity, and by that I just mean there's a lot of things that kind of served as shifts in my life. A lot of them were just like thoughts that came to mind. But this one in particular really kind of started changing the way that I kind of approached my life and those times kind of coming in when, I have felt like I've really been struggling. And what that was that, we look at situations in our life, maybe people that bring a lot of pain in different situations that occur in our lives. And a lot of times we look at the situations and we look at, people that have hurt us. But the real enemy, the real person, and I'm trying to think back to that time in my life where I just, you feel destroyed. You feel like you can't get back up from that thing. you feel like your life's never going to be the same. And I think back to those times in my life, and I had a lot of sadness, but also some anger and frustration, because sometimes you can look at other people in their life, or even people that did things to you, and feel like, well, they're not going through anything, or they're fine even after, they did all these things to you. Or you can feel like, you can feel behind in your life. Or you can feel like, like I said, my life's never going to be the same. Like, I'm just so upset. I'm so upset at what has happened in my life. I'm so upset. Like, I feel destroyed. I feel defeated. And for a long time, I would look at the circumstance, I would look at the situation, and I would look at that pain that people had, brought into my life. And I would see that as like, that was, the problem. That was why I felt the way I did. And I'm not going to say, like, when we go through circumstances where people hurt you, that, that's not the reason why, we're feeling sad or feeling upset. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that I didn't understand what was going on a deeper level. Who's the real person when you've been through those things trying to destroy you? It's Satan, it's the enemy. And we can feel really like upset and mad and frustrated when different things happen. And I want to make sure I'm wording this right, because I want to make sure I'm not being insensitive. So I hope I'm not saying anything that is to anyone or what anyone has been through. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, that the enemy, he is the one doing that to you. He is the one that does that stuff to us. He is the one that tries to destroy, right? The Bible says he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I don't know about you, but when I have gone through certain things, there's kind of a streak in me that like wants to prove people wrong. Or there's a part of me that wants to fight, not necessarily like fight another person, but like fight for my life, when you feel defeated, when you feel destroyed. Even though, you feel this invisible force just trying to hold you down or keep you down, essentially, is what I meant to say. And it's just using different things in your life trying to knock you down repeatedly. There are times where I look back and, I wanted to give up. I didn't know how to face what was happening or what I had been through. I didn't know how to even take another step. And I can honestly say, just me coming to college, me being at this point in my life, I can honestly tell you that because of things I had been through and because of the state I was in, that alone was terrifying. That alone, I felt like something would happen. I felt like I couldn't do it. I wanted to give up. So I can even tell you, just me sitting here, like being at this point in my life, like that alone was very difficult for me because of where I was in my life and what I was struggling with. But I felt God leading me to take this step. Now, the enemy, he was the one that wanted to make me give up. That things are too hard, or I'm too far from where I want to be. Which for me was just being in a place where, I wasn't struggling all the time and I wasn't crying all the time and I wasn't struggling with suicidal thoughts anymore. But the enemy was trying to make me give up. So during all the things that I had gone through in my life, God, yes, He was the one bringing restoration, but He was also showing me that everything that the enemy had used for evil, that he had used to bring pain and destruction and chaos and suffering into my life. The very things that I didn't think that I would get through, the very things that, I felt like I would never be the same, that all of that, that all the attacks that the enemy tried to do through the years, that all of that could be used to help even just one person one day. And I found that so amazing. And I find it amazing that, like, I have a YouTube channel, like, it's just so amazing, because I had a dream of just being able to help people through things that I went through and being able to encourage people. So I find it amazing that, God's literally just used this channel and those experiences, like, to minister to all you. I find it so amazing, It was very interesting because, and I had no idea I was going to make a YouTube channel or that God would lead me to make one, But I find it so amazing because, the enemy wanted me to give up, wanted me to feel like I can't possibly face what is happening right now or what might happen. And it's still something he's using, like, right now in my life to get me to try not to take a step that God is leading me to. And the enemy wanted to get me to dwell on everything that I had been through and the words that I heard in my life and basically everything he was trying to do, everything he was trying to make me think. And everything he was trying to make me feel was the truth. And something really interesting that I've noticed the enemy does is he'll take what's the actual truth. So what's the actual truth of your situation, your circumstance? What's the actual truth that you're going to get through this situation, that you're still going to be standing? But he takes that and he tries to twist it and make you think the opposite. So he'll try to make you feel like you're not going to get through this. He'll try to make you look at how you feel, if things feel hopeless, if you feel like you have no strength left, if things feel really intense, if you've never been through this before. Like, he'll use all of that and he'll try to make you feel like you're not going to get through this situation. But he twists it. Because what is the actual truth is that despite everything he has tried to use to attack you, you're still standing, even if you feel like you're barely standing. And I'm right with you on that. But you're still standing. Everything that the enemy has tried to use to take you out, you're still standing. And so the enemy will try to make you think that the opposite is true. That you're not going to get through it. That things are never going to get better. That you're never ever going to be the same. And I can say that as someone that those thoughts once felt so real and so true. But that wasn't the actual reality of things. That wasn't the truth of my situation or my circumstance. Or even my past and the things that I had been through. And this was very important for me to look back at that as I felt God reminding me of that in that moment. Because I saw everything that God had sustained me through and got me through. Those times that I didn't feel like I could get through. But yet I was still standing, yet I was still here. going. So in this particular moment, the enemy was trying to make me give up, trying to make me feel like I couldn't handle what was happening in my life or what might happen. And I felt God reminding me of all that He had brought me through. And it was like, if He had brought me through all of that, then this may feel terrifying. But my God, His eternal hand is going to bring me through this too. And it's like in those moments, we don't have to rely on our strength, especially when it feels like it's all gone. But it's that we can look to His infinite power. And there's a sense of rest that comes from that. Because even when we feel like we're not going to get through something, even when we feel completely weak and we feel like we don't have the strength to get through something, we can look to Him, that He is the one who has carried us through our darkest years. And there's a sense of rest that comes from that. And now we have rest in Him. That our peace is in Jesus, it's in who He is. And now we have rest in Him. That we don't have to look to that anxiety or that fear when the enemy is trying to feed it to your mind. But we can be reminded of God's great faithfulness. So in this moment, as I felt God reminding me of that, God really used that dream, that aspiration of being able to help people through the things that I had walked through the very things that I didn't think that I would ever get through and be able to talk about. But, similar to the YouTube channel, that was a dream of mine, and that really was what drove me to keep going in my life. But the enemy made me feel like that would never happen. The enemy made me feel like, that was too big, does God really want to do something that big? Look at where you are in your life right now. And, I couldn't see exactly what was the truth in that moment. But again, I was just reminded of everything that God had brought me through. And because He had got me through all that, then that is not too hard for Him. And I want you to understand, kind of in a similar way, the enemy used that, twisted it, tried to twist what was the truth. And the truth was that, literally, God's used this YouTube channel to minister to you guys. And I'm so happy and grateful that I could be a part of your guys' lives in that way. But it's just really amazing, that was the truth, God, I didn't, fully see it then, but God was going to use all that I had been through and everything that the enemy had done to minister to people, to help other people. But the enemy tried to twist the truth, God knew that not only would I get through that, but that I could be in a better place in my life. And that He would bring healing, He would bring restoration, He would make all things new. to the point that I can sit here talking about this stuff, guys, and I'm in such a better place, you know? And I never thought I would ever be able to be in my life. But the enemy wants to twist that. And I understand the enemy, he wants to twist the truth. So if the truth was that, you know, I would end up being in this place in my life, you know, the enemy wanted to make me feel like, no, those things would never happen. You know, that would never be my life. And I understand that I do that with like a number of things, but I want you to understand the enemy will often use the opposite of things, try to make you think the opposite, try to make you feel the opposite, and twist what is actually the truth. Now, going into this a little bit more, so in that moment, right, the enemy was trying to make me give up. So basically, the thing that really shifted things for me was that in that moment, I realized where all that stuff, all that pain was coming from. You know, and by that I mean, you know, when we feel such deep pain, when we've been through things, when we've been through experiences, you know, it's like we can tend to really take it in a lot of cases, really take it to heart. And that, you know, we can feel like that is our life. And we can just, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. Again, we can feel like certain things are the truth or is the enemy, or we can feel like, you know, that's all our life will ever be because we're struggling this way, we've been struggling for so long, or whatever the case may be. But in that moment, it was like I recognized where all that pain was from. And that deep in my heart and soul, I didn't really want to give up. I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know if I could handle, you know, what would happen. I had no idea, you know, what would happen in my life. I felt like I couldn't take much more at the time. I was so exhausted. I didn't know how much longer I could keep fighting. But in that moment, I realized the one who had been trying to destroy me. And as I've mentioned, the enemy can work through people. I mentioned how the Bible talks about how we wrestle not against flesh and blood. The enemy can work in a number of ways. But we know the Bible says he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And it also talks about how he goes around like a prowling lion. I believe it's in the book of 1 Peter, seeking whom he will devour. We hear about the enemy, at least for me, I heard about the enemy. I never saw like a lot of things that happened in my life from him for a number of reasons. But sometimes you don't always recognize like just how ruthless he is in a sense. Like he's constantly trying to attack. And again, that's not like to make anyone scared or anything, but it's more to show when we're in those points in our life where we're going through so much, especially as a Christian. And if you have times where it feels so heavy, feels so intense, and you look around and you're like, why am I the only one going through this? Or you're just like, why is this happening to me? Or like, why is this so intense? Like, for a long time, I looked at my life and I was just like, why can everyone else seem to handle life, but I can't seem to? And that's how I felt for a long time. And it made me feel weak, and it made me feel like I couldn't get through things. And it also made me feel like there's something wrong with me, because I felt like everyone else was okay and everyone else could just seem to handle life. But I felt like I couldn't. But I want you to know, like, if you are going through that, especially as a Christian, who it's coming from really is our spiritual adversary. It's Satan. I can get into like a more in-depth topic video about this, like why. But basically, in that moment, when I realized where all that was coming from, even the thought trying to get me to give up, trying to get me to look at my pain, how unbearable it felt, because I was in a lot of pain emotionally. It's like, here God had a purpose for my life. He would use everything that I went through, every ounce of pain, to, well, literally testify of his goodness, but also to help other people, to minister to other people. So here that was kind of on one side, and then here the enemy is just trying to get you to give up, trying to make you feel like, this is going to happen, or you can't face this, that it's happening, or you're in so much pain. And I want you to understand, God, He is that voice. He's that voice of love, that voice of peace, that voice that has a purpose for your life, and there's a reason for your existence. And it can even just be literally in the way that you touch people's lives around you, because you do, and we don't always realize it, but you truly do. But the enemy, he was the one. He was the one trying to get me to throw in the towel, trying to make me feel like I would never do anything with my life whatsoever, that I would always be struggling, that I wouldn't be able to handle what I was facing in my life. To look at how I felt like I couldn't take anymore. But God's strength was sustaining me when I felt like I couldn't even take another step. But in that moment, it really shifted things. And really kind of shifted my mindset. And I really started questioning a lot more things in my life. When things started coming up, and I wondered, why am I dealing with this? This can be spiritual too. But yet, here's what I needed to understand, is that when you're wanting to talk about God, when you're wanting to write about God, sing about God, when you're wanting to testify of his goodness in your life, and the wonders he has done in your life, and you're wanting to lead people to Jesus, or even if you're not a Christian, because like I said, the enemy attacks non-Christians too. But if you're wanting to do those things, And, God has put it in you to reach people in a certain way. And He has put it in every single person to reach people in some way. But if you are trying to do that, I lost my train of thought. Help me out here, Lord. So if you're trying to do that and you're on that journey, He will want you to throw in the towel and get you to quit any way He can. Now, this is helpful though, because you do the opposite. You refuse to throw in the towel, you refuse to quit. But it's so helpful to understand. It's so helpful to understand where all that really comes from. Like, who is our real enemy? It's Him. Now, now, so that really shifted things for me. Because that was what was at the heart of all this. No matter kind of what obstacles came into my life, it was literally to make me throw in the towel on everything, make me quit on everything that I wanted to do for God. And again, He'll do that in a number of ways. He'll try to make you second guess yourself. He'll make you doubt yourself. As I've learned, He can literally create physical obstacles in your life to try to keep you from doing things. But that was at the heart of it. For me, I saw my pain at the heart of it, or maybe what people had done that had hurt me, or things that had affected me. But really, what was at the heart of it was that it all was designed to get me to quit and throw in the towel on what God had put in me. Being able to use all of that to talk about how God helped me through that, how He sustained me through that. And then what I didn't see till recently, how He was bringing restoration and healing into my life. And then every time that I came into His presence, every time I spent time with Him, He was bringing that healing and restoration into my life. But that's what's at the heart of it. It is trying to get you to quit, trying to get you to throw in the towel. So what seeing the enemy in this way did, well, it did a number of things. When things had come up in my life, instead of wondering, why am I dealing with these obstacles? Why am I dealing with this opposition? I could start responding. I could start going, it's just the enemy. Now, granted, I didn't start responding in that way a lot of times because some of the attacks felt very heavy. But eventually I started questioning and questioning and questioning. And that's what He will do. He will try to attack and try to make you feel like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to get through this? when things feel so intense, when things feel so heavy. And I want you guys to remember when those times come. I want you to remember that a lot of times He's behind it and what that whole agenda is. And that we are victorious through Christ. And the Bible tells us that you are more than a conqueror. You're more than a conqueror. And I want you to know you can conquer those things that you are going through, you are dealing with. I don't know how long it will take, but I want you to know that you can. Even if it feels like the furthest thing from the truth. That you're more than a conqueror. So when we see Satan as the real enemy, it's like you can get back at who's really been trying to destroy you, which is him. If you have a fire in you from things that you have been through, like if you feel frustrated, if you feel like, again, some invisible force, or like you've been through things and they've just been trying to knock you down and knock you down and knock you down and knock you down and knock you down, and yet you have like a fire in you. Which I just want to say, like, if you deal with anger after you've been through things, because I have, a lot of times we're taught to look down on that as a society or even kind of as a Christian. And I want you to understand, our anger is, it's like a response from an injustice that we went through. And I don't know about you, but when I have gone through periods where I felt that anger come up in me, a lot of times my first reaction is to feel ashamed or feel embarrassed or to start beating myself down. That anger is the part of you that believes you deserve better in your life. That part of you is the part that has never stopped fighting for your life, even though maybe physically you feel absolutely exhausted. And I'm talking about those times where maybe, someone hurts you in some way and you start raising your voice, or this fire, this anger starts coming out of you that you don't even know where it's coming from because physically you're so exhausted, right? But it's just kind of like this reaction that you have. Especially when you've been through like different forms of trauma, when you kind of feel that come up. So I want you to know that, and I want you to try to be gentle with yourself too if you deal with that and you have trouble with beating yourself down. Because I know what it's like to beat yourself down when you're dealing with that. But I understand if you do deal with that, that's the part of you that has never stopped fighting. The part of you that, believed you deserved to be treated better and that you deserve better in your life. And I want you to take that part of you. And I want that anger to be directed at who is really responsible. The enemy. And I want you to think about how empowering that can be. Too, because that is being directed directly at the person that has tried to bring all these things into your life. Yes, he works through people. Yes, people may have hurt you. But it's the enemy behind all of it. He's the one that has wanted to try to destroy you, to make you try to give up, to make you try to lay down in defeat and throw in the towel. When we get mad at him, it's like we reach that point where we're like, no more, I've had it. No more of the enemy attacking. We start to rise up in our authority. And we say, no, when he's trying to wreak havoc in our lives or make us feel a certain way or make us think certain things. It's really empowering too, because everything that the enemy has tried to steal from you, it's like, let us take back everything that he tried to steal. And you know what the best revenge to the enemy is? The best revenge that you could ever have for him trying to wreak havoc and destroy you, the best revenge that you could have is by refusing to give up and walking into your God-given purpose. That is the best revenge, because it's the last thing he wants. It's what he has really been attacking. So this is an interesting message, but I really hope this last part of it really fires you up. Also because, for a long time I felt like, well, how am I going to get my life back, or how am I going to get up from this? But see, I was kind of looking at it. I was looking at the wrong things in a sense of, how would I get my life back? How would I get up from everything? Well, God would be my help. God would be my strength. God would be my rest. God would bring that healing and restoration that I needed. God would mend and heal me when I felt like I was broken in a million pieces. God would build me up. God would teach me things. God would show me what the enemy was doing in my life. But also, how could I see the truth of things? That was the enemy the whole time. And then I would set out to take back everything that he tried to steal. That through God, I could have my life back. That I could have so much more than that. I could have new life in him. That I could be this new person. That wouldn't be pushed around by the enemy anymore. Or at least could start to keep track and understand how he had worked in my life. And could start to catch on to that. The person trying to feed you self-doubt, trying to tear you down, trying to bring pain and like that destruction and chaos into your life, it is him. See, if you walk in your God-given purpose, You've won. You've won the games he's tried to play in your life. How he tried to defeat you. You've won. And we already have victory through Christ, which is the most amazing thing. We already have victory through him. And nothing can come against God's plan for your life. His purpose prevails. No devil in hell can stop you. Nothing can come against our God. But I want you to know that if the enemy's tried to steal things in your life, the enemy's tried to wreak havoc and destruction and bring pain into your life, and you wonder, how do you get up from this? How do I, how can I possibly move forward? I understand with God can. And I'm saying this as someone that never thought that would ever be possible. Based on my circumstances, based on the things that were spoken over me, and what my life looked like. But also, we recognize who our real enemy is when he's attacking. And recognize, what has he tried to steal in your life? What lies has he told you? What things has he tried to make you stop doing? Maybe that have brought you enjoyment that you were passionate about. If there are things that, you used to love doing, how has he tried to wreak havoc in your life? And I want you to think about that. Because he can do that in a number of ways. He can do that through the lies he feeds us. He can do that through the things he tries to steal. Through the experiences that, he brings into our lives that have caused a lot of pain, that have affected us. But I want you to think about that. And you can even make a list if you want. But when you think about every single thing he has tried to steal in your life or inside you, I want you to see those things that you've been through in your life as from Satan. And like I said, I want you to know that the best revenge you can have on him for doing that to you. And I encourage you, get angry at Satan. Get mad at the enemy. Get mad. Let all that fire be directed towards him. Because then we get in a place where we refuse to quit and throw in the towel on the things that God put within us, that the enemy wants to try to make you never walk into. And if we are walking in that, like I said, you have won. Because you have fulfilled that purpose for your life. And no matter the pain, no matter the destruction, no matter the chaos, no matter the suffering that he's tried to bring into your life, not only God working it for good, but us using that pain in our lives to bring others to Christ, to minister to other people, to help other people that are going through similar things or have been through similar things. And it's that place where we've overcome those things. Where our lives are not defined by what the enemy has tried to do in our lives, or the pain we have walked through, but where it can be used to change other people's lives. And we can take back everything that the enemy tried to steal, kill, and destroy. So I encourage you, think about that. You can even make a list if you want. And I want you to think about the lies that the enemy is trying to tell you. And I want you to write down any of them. And I want you to take them and I want you to rip them up. That our lives would be based upon God's truth, upon His word and who He says we are, not the lies the enemy has tried to make us question and believe. That we would believe that we can, whatever that means for you, but if you're just trying to get up and take another step, that yes, we can. May not feel like it right now, maybe struggling right now, but in time, that we can. That we are still standing despite everything that we have been through in our lives that the enemy has tried to use to take us out. I hope all this can just be an encouragement. I didn't know what this video would be exactly, but I knew I wanted to talk about a lot of these topics. But I really hope this video just is an encouragement to you. And I hope it really lights a fire in you the way that I've been thinking about these things, and it's really helped light this fire in me too, where, I, just want to keep going no matter what the enemy is trying to throw at me. Because we start to see how He's worked in our lives and what He's tried to wreak havoc in. And we start to take it back and get to a point, like I said, where He can't just push us around anymore. And we start to see what the truth really is and what it has been. And not only the truth of how the enemy has worked in our lives, but also the truth of who we are, who God says we are, what we're truly capable of, especially with God and His strength. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are all doing all right, and God bless all of you. I love you.